Okay, to give some context, um, I'm someone who's on, I'm a big boy. I was a college wrestler, um, and I never really did like traditional weightlifting. I did like a lot of kettlebell work, but a lot of my athleticism was just genetics and just being active in like wrestling and football and that type of thing. So I have always been kind of like a bigger dude. And then uh, 6 years ago, I got down from like 350 to like 195. And I'll elaborate a little more on that later. But then I met my now current wife, and then I didn't have a reason to be like thin anymore. And what I was doing was not really sustainable, so I got back up. Um, I got to like 312 before kind of uh, figuring things out a little more. But I have tried so much stuff, and a lot of it was good. But it kind of I lacked a fundamental knowledge. Um, so this is all about like my current health weight journey on my way to not only get light but also healthy. So this whole video is going to go over like what my current plan is, and it'll change. And some of it'll change if people want to email me or comment or anything. Um, I'm really trying to focus on like core foundational stuff, not like the newest. There's this one study that you know, if you do crunches while hanging upside down, you get 5%. Like I want more just foundational knowledge. And I'll kind of go over what I've been learning a little later, but this is just more about what I'm doing now. Um, so over time we can work on it and change it together. Um, so my goals, I really want to get back to a lighter weight, but I don't want to look skinny fat like I did before. Um, and I want it to be sustainable, like the lifestyle choice. So rather than like constantly low calories, something that's not sustainable, I want something that is sustainable. Um, and I want to know that I'm doing something healthy for the long run, not just for a look now. I'd like to live longer if I can. Uh, so not just like uphill, like downing shit to like lower my water weight, that type of thing. I want to have a healthy body, a healthy life. So really important for me is like science, like proven science. Um, that is kind of something that I didn't necessarily focus on before. I did. I've done a lot of stuff. Like I said, I even did keto stuff like that. Um, where you'd read like one article where it was, this is really good because of this. Um, but that's kind of something that I'm trying to avoid, trying to get more of like on average, right? Like what is the average of the studies say on nutrition, not just like this one cutting edge one with four people in it. Um, so what's what's scientific, foundational, that type of thing. It's January 16th today. When did I start my cut? I started my first mesocycle on November 29th, 2025. It's January 16th, 2026 right now, as I'm recording this after work. I finished my first mesocycle on January 14th, 2026. So 2 days ago, I finished my deload week. And that was a 7 week plan, a full body plan, 2 days a week. So that's 2 days lifting. On top of that, I also I'm a college wrestling like coach, um, where not a head coach, but I go in there and I work with the guys and as a partner, not as like a coach sitting on the sidelines. So that can be up to 4 days a week. I co-own a jujitsu gym where I'm coaching wrestling at least 2 days a week. So alongside lifting. I'm not just lifting and then chilling. So I'm doing quite a lot for athleticism, that type of thing. But I sit for a living for work, so I can kind of do more of that type of thing. This kind of started slow, and I'll elaborate more on that later. And I feel like that's the approach. Um, but I'm down, as of recording this, like 7.5 pounds. I started dieting, what, like 14, 13 days ago, well, weight training and having a proper diet. So I look better with that loss than I did when I tried it before years ago, with the weight loss, because I kind of, what I'm losing now is more fat, and more like pure fat and water weight, rather than what I did before, which was I was losing everything. I've been very consistent for at least 2 weeks of the diet. As I said before, I started the mesocycle late November, so I started working out before nutrition, and that'll kind of, I'll elaborate more on that in a bit. Um, and rather than trying to get down for like bikini season, I'm just trying to get healthy. I just turned, I'm in my 30s, early 30s now, um, and I've never like locked in on nutrition for sure, but I've never kind of locked in on the whole health thing. I was very busy and I did a lot of exercise, but it was kind of like I couldn't outwork that poor diet, that like unhealthy diet and mindset around food, no matter how hard it worked. Okay, so who am I looking up to? Who am I learning from? Well, one is I do a lot of Renaissance periodization stuff. So the single best book I feel like I've ever read about health that like was directly applicable is the Renaissance Diet 2.0. That's by Mike Israetel, Dr. Mike Israetel, Dr. Melissa Davis, Dr. Jen Case, and Dr. James Hoffman. Um, this stuff is amazing, and it's kind of the core of the nutritional approach I have. Um, I also use the RP Hypertrophy app, um, which I feel like allowed me to kind of get going on the lifting right away, rather than having to read like a full book and ease my way into it. Um, and I was really worried about it not being beginner friendly, because when you first open it up, it's talking about mesocycles and like a bunch of this, like, you have to know, you kind of have to, I had to Google a lot of stuff to get it going. But what they have, like templates that you can follow, and I kind of set up a full body template, and then I started using the app and kind of shifting it to what I have in the weight room here. um, so like honestly, the core of it's going to be RP strength stuff, um, and I've been uh, blown away with that information that I can get from them. I bought the beginner bundle and I felt like that was all right, but then when I got the RP Diet 2.0, um, it it was actually more applicable to me than the simple science diet that they kind of tout. Um, Even though both are good, the RP diet isn't necessarily like a traditional diet like you'd think of. Um, I'm only like halfway through it, but it's more like just teaching you very scientific approaches to like various stuff. So like, why do you need fats? Why, like, not if you go, certain diets, they don't talk about macros, or they don't talk about, or they demonize fats, or they demonize carbs, or that type of thing. It was kind of refreshing to just learn, like, okay, you need all this stuff to function. And then the ranges were really, at first, bothered me, because I was always kind of thinking of percents, like, well, okay, what percent fat, what, etc. they kind of approach the per pound of body weight type of thing. So it kind of really jibed with me. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that about how that helped me kind of stick to a really healthier way of eating with room to improve. But that the RP diet book is phenomenal. I haven't read it yet, but this um, practical programming book is highly recommended um, in the field of lifting. I feel like when I read that, that'll really help me understand why mesocycles are kind of set up the way they are, like the templates in the RP strength or the RP hypertrophy app. But I feel like that foundational scientific knowledge you get from the Renaissance guys and girls are just, it's really applicable. Um, and I'll kind of explain why in a sec too. Some other people I kind of follow, is Dr. Milo Wolf. He writes a lot of articles on PubMed. He's got a YouTube channel, um, very good, and I've been following him. Um, just general PubMed articles and focusing on like uh, analysis, focusing on a bunch of information consolidated rather than single studies to try to find like on average how much protein you need, that type of thing. Not just this article states that you need 7 grams per pound. So like on average, what do you need, right? um, there's two other guys I've been newly following, trying to try them out. One of them is Jeff Nippard, uh, kind of a science-based dude, very smart, makes a lot of content. And the other one is the Australian Strength Coach on Facebook. I'm sure he has a YouTube channel too, just for kind of technique stuff, because I didn't know how to really use the barbell specifically, and I was kind of worried about hurting my back, that type of stuff. There's also older bodybuilders. I've been kind of reading through some of their stuff and trying to take uh, some of the current stuff from them, right? Like trying to take what they said and then take it through a current lens and see if it's still accurate. Um, Mike Mentzer, uh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dorian Yates, and not necessarily like old knowledge, but a lot of what they said, and when they were in their prime, just trying to put that through like a current lens and try to apply that knowledge too. So my approach, I want fundamentals. I want to compare information. I don't want bro science, um, or like TikTok science, Instagram science, where you have people saying things and you just trust it. Um, because that's kind of what led me down bad paths before. Um, and I like knowing that I'm kind of near optimal in what I'm doing, just to make the process suck less, and be, why waste the time and energy on doing something less than close to optimal. Um, I know you can like lose weight by eating Twinkies, if you're in a calorie deficit, that type of thing, but that won't get me healthy. So I'm trying to um, be at close to optimal, or more close to optimal with my approach. Um, and then I want to take all that through a lens and kind of, uh, this is important, put it to my goals. If you just focus on like what Mike Israetel is saying, and it's all very good stuff, but it's more towards the hypertrophy aspect, getting bigger. Um, and I do want that to some degree. Um, but I also, like, I'm not trying to bodybuild for a competition. I'm not trying to just become huge because I've been big my whole life. I want to get down to really healthy weight, low body fat, and a lot of what he says is applicable to that. Um, so just trying to take uh, everything I can and tweak it to what I do, and a lot of grappling and just wanting to be healthy in general. So at around 312, at my a couple weeks ago. Now I think I was 305-ish this morning on January 16th, 2026. Um, I'm trying to when you read a lot of the studies on like protein intake, it's all based on like per pound, right? So like 1.7 grams per pound, 1 gram per pound, 1.2 grams per pound. But from everything I've read, that's more for like leaner people. Um, and I could be corrected by this in the future when more stuff comes out. But a lot of that's for leaner people, so it would be very hard to get 312 grams of protein uh, without just drinking protein shakes all day, for me at least. Um, so I kind of undercut my macros a little bit to kind of more of a like a 270, 250 pound guy, just because I have extra body fat on me. Um, so maybe I'm losing like maybe a slight bit of gains or losses, whatever you want to call it. But I'm kind of I treated my macros as if I was a or like my protein requirements as if I was a little lighter than I was, um, just to make the it more doable and also help me uh, not overeat certain things that I don't really need to overeat at my current body weight. Um, like I'm generally a very athletic big guy, but there's still fat slowing me down. There's still, there's a good amount of fat on my frame. All the blood work I've done, I don't have a lot of like visceral fat, um, but I do have, kind of that like sumo fat where it's just kind of on you. So now for my actual macros, I'm trying to eat around a pound per my body weight so that I can preserve my muscle while I'm in a deficit. Um, I don't want to. If you could have seen me before, I got very, very thin. My shoulders didn't look broad, my head looked big, um, and I didn't have abs or anything like that. Um, and I could have lost more fat too at 195, but I lost like all of the muscle. I lost so much muscle while I was doing that, muscle size. So I'm trying to eat around a pound per. Uh, I'm trying to eat a gram per pound of my weight. Remember, as a 270-pound goal kind of guy. So I'm eating, 200, trying to eat like 270-ish grams of protein a day. I am eating minimum 0.3 grams of fat per pound of my body weight. Um, I have no problem eating fat. It's delicious. But I was definitely overeating fat before. Um, and the fats have more calories per gram than protein and carbs. So it was definitely making my calories a lot higher than the satiation was. you know. On that same vein of the saturated fats, I'm trying to keep that less than like 7% of my daily calories from saturated fats. So I have like kind of like a goal in my calorie tracker to keep that low. Um, I was definitely eating way more saturated fats than I needed. We were big butter people, big ghee people. Um, there was we tried the vertical diet, and they really highly focus on butter and ghee. Um, Later did I find out that that was kind of just like there's probably a reason that they're doing it in the um, vertical diet, for like trying to get more calories in. Um, but we were kind of people that believed like these seed oils were bad. Um, and I didn't know why. Just to, like keep them away. And turns out I was just eating a shit ton of saturated fats, um, for no real benefit other than slight taste. So like butter was our main fat when cooking, and ghee was our main fat when cooking at a higher heat. So we've kind of like limited the saturated fats, and one way we did that is through seed oils, like canola, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil. Trying to use less and trying to use butter only when we need it, even though butter's good. Um, so I've been keeping my fats at 0.3 grams per pound of body weight ish, roughly around that 270-pound goal, or the 270-pound guy, and then trying to keep 7% or less of my calories through that. Um, that right through trying to keep 7% of my calories or less from saturated fats, and whatever I can have left on top of that, I try to get in carbs or fats. It really depends on the what I have available to me that day, or what's in the fridge, and I don't want to drive. But I try to have the rest in carbs. So 1 gram protein, 0.3 grams fat, rest carbs. That's kind of my plan, and it's been working out phenomenally. Um, Extra fat isn't necessarily bad for you as long as they're like monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats. But like I said before, it's higher calories, so I try to just like minimize fats as much as I can above that minimum so that my hormone functioning. So that's kind of the core structure. Outside of that, I'm trying to eat veggies when I can, trying to eat healthy food when I can. But really, the first goalpost is fitting these macros in, knowing that what I'm doing is better for my heart than what I was doing before, that type of thing. So, on top of that, the calories I'm eating is around 2,700 a day, um, base. So if I just walk in normally and live in a normal day, I don't wrestle. I don't do anything really particularly athletic. I'm recovering. I'll eat 2,700 calories. Um, Now, if I work out, I lowball the calories on that workout, not by a lot, um, and then I eat that many extra calories. So before, and I'll elaborate here next, I was trying to leave as big of a deficit as I can. Now I'm trying to hit the deficit calorie goal. So I'm trying to be at that like that specific deficit no matter what I do. So if I've eaten 2,500 calories and it's 9:30, I'm gonna have like a protein shake, or maybe like a casein protein shake or something like that, to just get the calories. Even if I'm not that hungry, I'm trying to stick around that 2,700 calorie goal for now until I get to a lower weight, and then I'm going to shrink that a little bit or hit my first plateau. Another thing I'm kind of uh, focusing on now is nutrient timing. So I'm not like that harsh about it, but I'm trying to constantly have protein in my system so that I'm maintaining the muscle mass I have when I'm on a deficit. So like every 2 to 4 hours, depending, especially during times of recovery. Like if I just worked out yesterday or I worked out that morning, I'm trying to not have too many times where I don't have protein. And I'm not doing that in a dumb way where I'm overeating calories, right? I'm just like having a Quest bar or an Anna bar or something, um, just a protein bar or protein shake, um, to just make sure I have something in my system, especially before training, that type of thing. Um, so every like 2 to 4 hours, it depends on how I feel, but I'm starting to feel when I'm a little depleted or there's nothing in me and I'm at work and I'm just like, man, I need to get some sort of protein. I'm putting protein first, and kind of just trying to tweak the other macros after that. Um, on top of that same idea, I can't wake up every 2 to 4 hours in the night to eat a protein bar. So I'm trying to eat casein. I'm trying to drink casein before bed most nights. just to help supply, especially like the day of or after training. I'll have like I had casing last night, to really help me not waste my current muscle mass. Um, I'm also, after working out, I'm trying to replenish like right away. Um, I know that you have more of a window after working out, technically, but that also means that having it right after also works. But um, if I coach at the college, and I shower, I drive to work, that type of thing, I'm not like freaking out about my protein intake. I'll have a protein bar or protein shake when I get there. Um, so I'm just trying, like, post workout, I'm trying to think about, like, okay, make sure you get your protein, but I'm not like freaking out about it. So that's kind of like my nutrient timing thoughts, or concept currently.
This would be a good general day. Maybe not perfect, but a kind of good representation of a general day. I did want to get a little more protein. I just didn't get it that day. So for breakfast, I wake up and I had some coffee and milk and a protein bar. I usually have creatine. I must have just been in a rush that morning, or I forgot to put it on. But then later in the day, I didn't track my timing on at this point in the diet. But later in the day, I got a little hungry and had a banana and then nacho cheese chips. But these are the like protein quest ones, so 18 grams of extra protein there. Then later in the day, I think we had Qdoba or something along those lines. So I had like a bean and rice type of dealie with some taco meat. I took my multi at that meal too. And then later in the day, I did have a protein bar. Then when I got home, the wife and I had this meal, which had a ton of protein in it, thank goodness. Some butter, chicken, rice, etc. And then I felt like I, at this point, had undereaten protein for sure. I kind of remember that. So then I had some casein along with a whey protein shake mixed together. This is kind of a general example of a hard workout day. I went pretty hard for about an hour. So I estimated 587 calories. But I kind of wanted to not assume I burned almost 600 calories. So I did undereat a tiny bit. So morning, creatine. That morning I had, instead of coffee, I had a caffeine powder drink. Had my morning protein bar too, and then I mixed that green powder that I don't know if it does anything, but I mixed that in too, because I hadn't been eating vegetables, and I had a whey protein shake. So you see those were a little spaced out too. It was on the weekend. I probably woke up at 9, and then after I had the protein bar at 9:45, then I had a whey protein at 11:50. And then for lunch, had around 821 calories. Ketchup, bell pepper, olive oil, onion, potato, turkey, eggs. So my wife, I think, made like some sort of like a breakfasty lunch on the weekend there. I had that around almost 1 o'clock. A little over an hour later, I had my multivitamin and then a Quest protein drink. It's a little higher calories. And then I had my second dose of creatine. Then I think I worked out after that. That I might have worked out actually right before this meal, which is why I had the protein drink right here. So I probably worked out, let's just assume, I finished working out at like 150 or something, 135, that type of range. And then um, live, lived my life, and then later my wife and I went out to Subway, and I had a huge sub. Um, I also had some omega 3s because I had been reading that that can sometimes help with recovery from a hard lift. Then later on in the day, before bed, I had a double dose of casein protein. I think this is from Nutricost, and it freaking is awful. But I had that day, including my workout, almost 3,000 calories and around 270 grams of protein, which is kind of the goal. Did go a little higher with fats than like what I originally had planned, but that's fine. I may have under had carbs here too, kind of for like my workout performance, but I felt fine during the workout for my memory, and this is kind of just my daily thing here. You can see that day my steps were a little lower, but I take the step tracker off during the workout, so I'm usually running around, stepping around, grabbing stuff, grabbing plates, running around like that. So I don't know. Maybe I understepped or I didn't track properly that day.
I don't really do uh, intra workout nutrition. Maybe I should. A lot of my workouts are an hour or less anyway, so there's no real super benefit of having a like a Gatorade or a protein shake mid workout. Um, the wrestling sometimes gets up to an hour and a half, and I've tried like intra workout uh, protein shake, and it didn't really. I mixed it wrong. I'll leave it at that. So I think maybe I would be okay with like a non-thick chunky drink while I'm wrestling college athletes. But for the most part, I'm not really doing that. Now, what did I do previously? When I got to 195, I was eating 1,200 calories a day, no matter what. Um, Literally, no matter what. Um, my protein, I looked back at my notes. I Some days I got 20 grams of protein. Some days I got 20 grams of protein. Like holy crap. Um, it was mostly carbs. Um, I didn't I was definitely in a deficit, but that would be I would have like a 2.5 hour jujitsu session or something, or I was coaching wrestling, and I would just be like losing more weight for tomorrow. Hell yeah. Um, and I felt awful. um, that's like to put that in perspective. Half. That's more than half of what I'm doing now by a lot. Um, and I was the same size, right? And I'm losing now. So I lost weight very quickly. And I was able to do this for like, I did that for like 2 years or something like crazy. Year and a half, maybe I could look back. But I just kind of like locked in mentally of like suffering. You can suffer and like get really in that goal. Um, and I do not know how I held it up for that long, but I had many people walk up to me like, dude, are you sick? Do you have cancer? Like, do we need to start a GoFundMe? Because I was pale. I was losing crazy weight all the time, like up to like a pound a day in many cases. And a lot of it was probably water or like me not drinking enough water. Who knows? Yeah, and no focus on protein at all. No focus on anything other than calories. At like I saw the calories in, calories out parts of videos, and I shut the video off after that. Like I didn't care to learn the rest of the process here. So that was a really bad thing I did, and no freaking wonder I looked like a very frail man, even though I was doing combat sports at the time too. Supplements. I have like I used to be one of those guys that was like, this helps with that, this helps with that. And the RP diet book says like that's like a very tiny percent of anything that you're actually going to do health wise. Um, so I've like limited my whole supplement group into like very minimal stuff has proven to work. Like I take creatine every day. I take a multivitamin every day. I take whey protein or casein protein every day. Um, and that's basically it. Um, and if there is like a need for more, maybe I'll do that. Caffeine, you could call that a supplement too. And I'm not like a caffeine junkie. I'm just, a cup of coffee in the morning, maybe on a long day at 2:30 or something. I'm trying to keep my uh I'm trying to lift heavy, not like, a lot of people will like lift lighter during a deficit or that type of thing. I'm just trying to lift as if I was trying to build body mass. From what I've read, and that will change as I read more. Um, you're not building muscle really generally while on a deficit, but you need to work out the muscles so that they can maintain. Like you can't just eat protein and lay in a bed and maintain all your muscle. From my understanding, you need to stimulate the muscles as if you were trying to build for them to not shrink while you're still getting roughly the protein you need. So my design, I'm doing mesocycles, um, and that includes 4 to 7 really hard weeks with a deload week at the end. And what does that mean? I'm kind of following the reps and reserve model that RP Strength really focuses on. So early in the cycle, you're doing, for me, it was the first mesocycle I just finished, 2 days a week. Maybe the first 2 weeks, you're 3 reps in reserve. The next 2 weeks, you're 2 reps in reserve. The next 2 weeks, you're 1 rep in reserve. And then you peak at 1 week or so of 0 in reserve, or like 1 in reserve. I might not go to at true 0 in reserve for certain lifts because I can't drop the weights in here, um, not with the current setup. But I'm trying to get to 0 in reserve as much as possible. And then deload week where you go like 8, 9 in reserve, where you're trying to just get as close as you can to like, okay, I'm starting to feel a burn, put it down lightweight. I'm not like maxing out my deadlift and only getting 1 rep.
So the first meso was a full body plan twice a week.
I'm trying to get I'm trying to adjust the weights so I'm getting like lower reps. Um, like I don't want to deadlift 27 reps and just hate everything. Um, I'm trying to set the weight up, and that was a process at the beginning where I just didn't know how strong I was. Um, I'm trying to get it so I'm getting like around 6-ish reps minimum, but like up to uh, 15-ish. I know that you can go up to 30 and still have the same amount of muscle building or stimulus or whatever. But I'm trying to keep it on the lower end because I don't want to be in the gym forever or in my basement forever. Um, I really want to get the most I can, and that I can do that around 6 15 reps before I just get bored or my joints hurt, that type of thing. Um, I'm focusing on reps in reserve, which I feel is you're always going to get optimal like stimulus from that model rather than just trying to hit 8 or 9, right? Where um, arbitrary numbers, they're a really good goalpost to see, but you might push harder than you need, or you might not push hard enough, just kind of hit that random number. Um, the RP app will give you eventually, after it kind of learns your goals and your current form, your current health, muscle mass, that type of thing. It'll give you like a goal, but the reps in reserve is always still the priority. So maybe it says do 8 deadlifts and you hit 9 because it was a 1 in reserve week and you could do 9, right? Um, that's kind of more the focus point here. So I think that's like a phenomenal approach that I hadn't even heard of before RP Strength told me. Um, the RP strength, the RP hypertrophy app also focuses on like joint stuff. So did that hurt? How are you feeling? Were you totally cooked during that, or did you feel good? Um, I have a unique issues with my wrists that I've known about my whole life. Kind of just um, they get damaged easy, that type of thing. So the app didn't necessarily tell me, but it made me realize like it shouldn't hurt like that. Find another lift that stimulates the same muscles. And then I bought an easy curl bar, which is over here. Um, that really helped me with my like wrist pain while I was doing curls. The skull crushers, that type of thing. Yeah. So the app kind of made me realize the like pain and soreness um, can affect what you should lift, that week or the next week. And the app is phenomenal. It's not a sales pitch. It's what I feel like taught me what I needed to really get going. The app, they have a bunch of YouTube videos on there, so it's on the internet if you want. But if you want to work your hamstrings and you hate good mornings, you can just click replace and you'll get a whole list of stuff that can kind of simulate what equipment you do have for the most part. Um, like I don't have any cable stuff in this gym, so I took that option off of what's shown to me. So, um, yeah, that's how I learned about the Nordic curl. I got like a little cheap pink Nordic curl machine over there that was like $70. Um, and that helped me with my hamstrings on certain weeks. Right, I'm not doing it every week for hamstrings, but that app is the only reason I even like thought about that, changing it up, that type of thing. I'm doing 10,000 ish steps a day. I have one of these counters. I know Mike Israel and them have a lot of them do the watch. Just didn't work for me. This somehow does. So just keep it in my pocket, and it tells me what my steps were at the end of the day. This one specifically, it'll like you measure your steps, your stride length, so it'll tell you roughly the miles or the kilometers you've walked and stuff. And you can enter in your weight, so it can like tell you rough calories burned. I don't really care about that. It's cool, but I care more about just like accurately counting my steps. So what equipment am I using? It's all freaking barbells, and then I have adjustable dumbbells over there. I'll show you one. Uh, so those are straight dumbbells, and this is what I was kind of using before. These are 1 inch, so I have like a bunch of cheap 1 inch plates over there. But I primarily use the barbell. Um, so barbells, dumbbells, and then the Nordic curl thing I just bought. Um, so I do a lot of squats, deadlifts, bench press, rows, good mornings, curls, and skull crushers, and then the Nordic curl too. But I can do all that with the bars I have. I have 3 bars. I have an easy curl bar from Cap that I'm terrified to use sometimes because it's got like that little hex thing on the end. I probably need to upgrade at some point. But as long as I keep that bolt tightened, I don't have to worry about the weight falling on my skull. Um, I have a standard Olympic bar from Titan that I bought forever ago, and I don't know why I bought it. It was on a sale, and I just bought it. But it's 1,000 pound rated. This one right here, the knurling on it is shot, and it was probably shot when I bought it, but it's rated really heavy, and it's hard to want to spend any money to replace it. Um, and it's just worked. It hasn't failed me yet. It hasn't rusted too bad. And then as of like last week, I just bought a cambered bar. Part of the reason is that when I'm very flexy, um, benching down on my chest only did so much. So getting that extra 3 inches of depth really seems to have helped me. Um, and for when I'm doing good mornings and squats, that reaching all the way back, not a problem with my shoulders, but with my wrists, it was a problem. You can really use it for a lot of stuff. You can use it for rows um, to get more range of motion. Um, and that's also from Titan. And it was 200 bucks, 210, 214 around there. And I felt that that was worth it. I really wanted a safety squat bar. Um, I'm working out a lot, but my wife is just starting to get into it too and do the same sort of journey. And she couldn't like do good mornings because of just she doesn't have the shoulder range of motion. So my thought was I'll benefit from the cambered bar, but my wife will be able to do certain lifts that she wouldn't have done before. Um, then I have a bunch of plates um, from every brand imaginable that's affordable. So I have like a lot of cap. There's one called Everyday Essentials. I got a lot of bumper plates and a lot of steel plates and a lot of cap plates that I had to sand down because they were destroying everything because they're not finished very well. Um, and then I have the same kind of smattering of 1 inch plates for the barbells. In hindsight, I could have got a 2 inch plate, 2 inch barbell, and not had to buy all those. But um, I feel like even the 1 inch is still good because it's cheaper, as far as I know, to get the 1 inch plates that aren't huge. So if I needed like a 45 pound 1 inch plate, it would probably be not as long. So it's not going to hit my wrist when I'm trying to like press with those. Um, but in hindsight, I probably could have gotten the 2 inch one and saved some money. Um, for other equipment, um, I have a bunch of these standard wrist wraps. I tried a knockoff VersaGrip, and I am a big fan. Um, Partially because Mike Israetel brings it up every video. Um, but these are from Cough Off. Um, it's the same format, and I'll eventually get a VersaGrip when I have extra cash. But it grips so much better with it quicker. And when I'm deadlifting, I don't want to be like wrapping the bar and like, okay, not tight enough or not on my wrist enough. With these, it's like so much quicker to lock in. I'm not going to say it supports the weight better, but it supports the weight quicker with like less practice. Um, with the standard wrist wraps, you have to like watch training videos, and people have been using them wrong for years, and like it's hard to get the VersaGrips wrong or the VersaGrip style wrong. Can't believe I forgot this, but I also have this Titan leather belt. Honestly, it was hard to get one big enough for me, but this is like awesome, and it should hold up for a lot of weight loss. I'm on the last freaking notch on this thing, so I have it hanging up right next to the bars. Even though I don't really need it yet with the weights I'm pulling, I figured it would be a good way to not have a sore back and have proper form, that type of thing. So I'm also using a belt. The other thing I have is um, different sort of squat shoes. I got these around Christmas for myself, and they were like dirt cheap. They're like 20 bucks. It's by a brand named Core. And then my dad bought me for my birthday recently these amazing Nike ones. They're like the one that people talk about online a lot. Savaleos. Apparently he got a heck of a deal, or that's what he's telling me at least. I use that for most things, including deadlift. Um, I know it can kind of like mess up your form on deadlift, but a lot of people argue that it's bad for deadlift because you have to pull the weight higher, and you have more range of motion, but like that's the point. So a lot of the time I'll use it for deadlift. If I'm trying to like if I'm not doing a lot of like squatting and stuff, I'll just wear socks, or these I just got yesterday for like $14. They're just deadlift slippers. It's basically a thick sock with rubber on it that it's meant to be used and replaced so you can get low. Um, so that's like all my equipment, literally, like everything I've used. So what changed before? So I did like a rolling release, and I feel like that's like why I've been able to stick for 2 weeks straight, and like with no real end in sight. I have everything kind of planned out for the most part, and I'm tweaking as I go. Um, for instance, I didn't start weightlifting and calorie cutting on the same day, right? Um, a lot of people are you need time to adjust to stuff. So if you're calorie cutting your first time you lift, you're gonna feel worse. You're gonna feel like you recover slower. So I just started lifting for weeks and weeks, like hard, eating whatever I wanted and eating my normal diet at that point, which was a lot of crap. Um, but it, I found the smallest amount of lifting that I could reliably do, um, which was twice a week in my head. I was like, I can do it twice a week, even with all this wrestling and other stuff going on. The twice a week, I felt like I can stick with that without dicking up. Um, and what happened is I started like when I was stressed, I'd want to work out. When I wanted to do more, so like I would have these 2 days that I for sure didn't have much training, and I would work out then. But then I'd find like I would have days that I didn't have a workout planned, and then I wrestled and I wanted to work out after. I wanted to lift after. I wanted to lift that morning. Um, so in the upcoming mesocycle, I'm going to do 3 days a week. In that way, I feel like if I had done the dieting and stuff, I would have like maybe barely stuck with two, you know. So I started with weightlifting, and I didn't read a book. I just bought the app. I watched a lot of RP strength videos. I watched a lot of videos, and like I can do two for sure, and I'll just try this stuff. It doesn't hurt. Didn't hurt me at least. So that's what I started with, is twice a week, trying to figure out the weights for things, trying to watch a lot of form videos, which is why I started following like Jeff Nippard, in them, and the Australian strength coach. So that made me not fall in love with weightlifting necessarily, but like it and want it. Um, then I Another problem I had, even with the simple science diet, most diets is they're so perfect, where eat your vegetables eat this much vegetables every week, eat this or every day, eat this or this and this. The minute you fall off the boat, um, you you drop everything, or it's harder to hold on to what you have. Um, so with the way that the RP Diet 2.0 kind of showed, with the minimum protein, or reach this goal, I need a cookie. I don't, or I did it for my birthday, but I can wake up, I can have a protein bar and not really feel like guilty. Um, you can have milk and not feel like, oh, dairy, I'm having dairy. Oh my goodness, I'm a failure. So just having like a macro, or like a macro goal was huge for me, because just like the rolling release of working out, I can like have this vague diet that meets these certain goals, and then I can make that more healthy as I fall in love with the process. Um, so that's why I think the rolling release approach for this is just like a next level. So if a lot of it's early January, a lot of people are at Planet Fitness right now, and they're going to quit in the next couple of weeks because they're 5 days a week, whatever, 4 days a week, nothing but broccoli, nothing but chicken. Um, so I feel like the rolling release allows you to fall in love with the process, and then being like, I should eat more chicken. I feel better when I eat more chicken, that type of thing. Um, and I have uh, the calorie flexibility that I didn't before. Um, that I know I'm still around a smaller deficit at least. So I know whatever I'm eating, I'm at least going to, if I stick close enough to the macros, I know I'm doing a good thing for my body for the most part. One thing I've been like, it's hard for me to get veggies um, with kind of what I where I get my food like throughout the week. But we're trying to do more veggies during or before bed because I know they're good for me. But I've been also adding in a green powder mix occasionally, just trying it out. Maybe it does something. Um, it's 30 calories, so it's not really make or break for me. But I'm just just like with the workout, I'm trying to fall in love with more stuff and be, and be like, I should do that more instead of having this perfect goal that like you're eating one handful or 1 cup of rice every meal or 1 cup of fat every meal, one veggie every meal, and then you only have 20 minutes for lunch at work and well, I'll just starve, right? Like, no, I can go and find something that's got roughly the macros I really want, or maybe it's just all carbs, but it's something, or maybe it's just all fats, but it's something. It's not a bunch of saturated fats. Then I can fall in love with it, and I can nourish my body as I'm going about my day, and then tweak better while I'm still sticking within these macro goals. So I think that was like brilliant from them. I'm sure other people have done it too, but by RP Strength for their book is like reaching minimums for your health and then not being so laser focused on how you're achieving those minimums. Um, but ideally you'd be chicken broccoli rice. But that doesn't really fit uh, my lifestyle and also like what's I'm sure I could make it happen, but if I fell off once, now I don't know what you're kind of like it's like having a map and a compass and then you just threw one away. Like you need them both. You don't know how to function. So I think the macro approach really helps you stick to stuff. Like even on my birthday, I went over by like maybe 100 calories. My macros were still moderately good and I was fine. Um, I I didn't want to eat a bunch of cake. I had some cookies, that type of thing for my birthday, but it was still like you still had a lens of what you should be at. I still had there. I knew what to do. Um, so a lot of the more strict diets people do, if you fall off, you just get back on that boat. Um, that's the goal at least. But I felt like whenever I'd fall off before, I was just off. Like I wouldn't even try to get back on the boat because it was like that was hard anyway. So I feel like this is like super duper achievable. And I think that's also why I've been sticking to it and adhering to it. Before I had low calories, I didn't have any macro goal and low protein, low everything, frankly. And I very poor sleep and an inconsistent schedule with how I'm lifting and stuff. Now a lot of it's kind of regimented out. I know what I have to do. I'm not like Mondays are my workout day. Every like if I'm sore on Monday, I'll do Tuesday. I'm just trying to get my twice a week during that first mesocycle. So it leaves enough wiggle room that you don't fall off the boat whenever you may have you feel bad that day or you need a rest day or maybe you want to work out and you're not supposed to work out yet, but you work out, you get that first workout of the week done. Um, I've been really focused on sleep. I'm not the best sleeper, but I've been trying to do what I can to sleep better, not stay up later, especially for like the day I work out or the day after I work out, that type of thing, trying to recover as much as possible for my health. That's not even something I really gave a crap about before. And I never had a light week at the end of a hard week or that type of thing. I never did deloads or anything with anything I was doing. I was just always kind of like, I was of like the mindset of like, dig harder, put, suffer. So I never had a deload week for my joints and for recovery. So what's next? I'm going to keep reading from as many people as I can and trying to find the truth, trying to find what's accurate. Um, with a heavy lean towards the Renaissance periodization guys, because nothing they've told me yet has been wrong. Like nothing's they've um, I know they sell the Versagrips hard, but like they were better than the ones I previously, or that style was better than the traditional wrap. Like nothing they told me has been wrong. Um, their their hypertrophy app um, helped me, like who was a complete beginner, um, do like figure out basic stuff. Their free content's also phenomenal. So that, but also not just like a fanboy where I'm just like blindly following whatever they say and buying whatever products they're offering. I'm going to keep reading books, different books, um, following different people, reading PubMed a lot, trying to find um, good stuff and not get like too worked up in like the science-based stuff where I have like 30 pieces of rope around me and I'm just like, right, like I'm doing a lot of like simple barbell stuff and trying to be as like fundamentally sound as I can. I'm trying to take what works and throwing aside what doesn't seem to work for me. And I'm trying to adapt it to my goals, as I said before, as like a grappler and someone who wants health, not just like I'd like to get more muscular, but I don't want to like get so muscular at the risk of my actual goals of like longevity and stuff like that. And also kind of accepting the plan, um, and accepting and trusting the process, um, but evolving and not just like saying like, no, I can't. This is my plan, but trying to evolve in slight incremental ways as I learn new things. Like for example, the saturated fat thing didn't come right away. That didn't come from the RP book. That came from like the Heart Health Organization or something. So trying to like tweak as I go, but stay within the confines of what I have structured right now. And on that same vein, if anyone reaches out to me, like I want to learn too. I feel like this could be a team thing, not just me on my own. So like show me stuff, tell me stuff, reach out to me, and like help me achieve this health goal of mine. And I feel like maybe some of it might help other people who are on the same thing. Because like I've read so much scientific stuff before this, um, but it was all like so optimal and like so scientific that I felt like let's just quit. So trying to find doable stuff that's science based and like helps me towards those goals. So yeah, that's the plan. Um, it's been going great. I've been losing. I'm down to 7-ish pounds now. In roughly 2 weeks. I'm measuring. I mean, I'm trying to measure like my waist size and leg size and stuff. Um, that's pretty much all I'm doing. Um, and there's definitely more to come. I want to keep learning and going to keep making videos as I go. Um, and like ask questions. I'm probably like going to just be posting what I'm learning and what I'm doing and want to show like the process of the weight loss and the muscle gain, that type of thing. But like, ask me questions. I'm happy to help. I'm not a pro or anything, not a dietitian, um, but I'm just a dude that is getting healthy, and I want to document that, and I want to be closer to optimal, especially than what I previously was. And I just want I want to learn everything I can that's true, and I want help from people, and hopefully someone can be helped too. So that's what I'm doing.